welcome to More Time in the Kitchen. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to make the best lasagna recipe. Now, I can't take full credit for the recipe because the secret ingredient, soon not to be secret ingredient, that takes it from lasagna to the best lasagna actually comes from my boyfriend. So, although our recipes are a bit different, mainly in that I make my own cheese sauce and I add a few more vegetables and a little less meat than he does, it's pretty much the same recipe. But he's let me have this one anyway. So let's get cooking. So we're going to start by chopping up the ingredients. So I've got 2 peppers, 2 onions, 2 cloves of garlic and the secret ingredient, chorizo picante. So what the chorizo adds is a bit of spice and a bit of richness to the sauce. It also adds a bit of a different texture to the lasagna as well. So I'm going to start with the cloves of garlic. Just going to top and tail them, peel them, and I'm just going to cut them into little slices, just thin slices. So while I chop the vegetables, I'm going to tell you the story of how me and Gary met. Oh, sweet, isn't it? So we met through online dating through OkCupid, but Gary finds it hilarious to tell people when they ask how we met that I stalked him. And now, before you think she's a whack job, she doesn't really have a boyfriend, she's created it all in her head, let me tell you that I have neither the time nor the patience to stalk someone. I can barely keep up with my own life without getting obsessed with somebody else's. So I have to peel the onions and I'm just cubing them. So yeah, what happened was, we've been talking through OkCupid and then via text for I think maybe 2 weeks, sometime around that. And I knew who he worked for and that he cycled to work, but didn't know where he worked exactly, like exactly what shop he worked for. But I used to walk through town to get to work, and the shop that he worked in, that I didn't know that he worked in at the time, was on my route. I walked past it, and during the time that I'd been talking to him, a few mornings I had walked by and there was a guy that looked like him that cycled to work. So I kind of put 2 and 2 together, and I thought that it must be him, but I didn't really want to say because obviously it seems a bit stalkerish, but at the same time I didn't kind of want to be walking by every day and not acknowledging it, sort of thing. So I told him, I asked him, I said, is that, you know, I've seen this guy going into this place every morning on his bike, is it you? And I mean, he's told me since that he did think it was a bit stalkery, which is fair enough. Someone walking by your work every day and then telling you that they do that, criminal across is a bit weird. Because you gotta be careful when you're online dating, really. You don't know who you're really talking to. There are some right nutters out there. Anyway, so he basically said afterwards, when I asked him, that he thought to himself, well, she might be creepy, she might be a stalker, but I think he supposed that one way to tell if that was really the case was to invite me on a date. So he invited me on a date, and we went to a Costa Coffee that was just down the road from where he worked. Obviously handy for me as well because I live near there. going to deseed the pepper. And we also hit it off, and after that we went to a bar for a drink, and then we went to Ask Italian for dinner. And yeah, we went on a second date, and then eventually he was staying round because it was convenient, because it was close to where he worked. So yeah, it all worked out in the end. Now I gotta watch myself here, because the last time I was chopping peppers while filming, I cut my thumb. That was in the Brazilian fish stew recipe, if you want to check it out. So yeah, I'm gonna be looking at the pepper, not the camera. I think people say that it's kind of a shame that on online dating you don't really get an interesting like how we met story, but there's lots of stuff that still happens around you meeting. So I don't really think it detracts from like a story anyway. And it certainly isn't in this case. Not that it matters, I mean, the story of how you met isn't really the most important thing in a relationship, is it? But I'm definitely pro internet dating, especially nowadays that it's not thought of as something like weird. I think in its infancy it was thought of as very much like a last resort, but I think it just makes it easier for people because it's a little bit more, I don't know, pragmatic. You kind of know what you're getting yourself into before you catch feelings or whatever. And I mean, if you meet someone naturally through day-to-day life, like through work, or maybe work's not a great idea because you don't really want to date your co-workers, but you know, if you meet through friends or whatever, then that's great. But a lot of people don't want to wait for that to just happen naturally. It may never happen. So yeah, I'm definitely like pro internet dating. So with the chorizo, I'm just going to cut down the middle just lightly. I'm not cutting it in half. I'm just piercing the skin. And then you just want to peel the skin off, because the skin will go tough when you cook it. Well, it's already tough. Don't eat the skin, is what I'm saying. And then I'm just going to chop it into little chunks. So just cut a slice and then cut the slice in half. So you get chunks around that size. Just bite-sized pieces. Well, smaller than bite-sized. Right, so that's all the prep work done. So we're now going to cook the mince and then get onto the sauce. So I've got a pan here on high heat, and I've got 500 grams of beef mince, and we're going to just dry fry that for about 3 minutes on either side. Get the paper off of there. So just spread it around the pan a little bit, and we're going to give it 3 minutes on either side. And this is just to give it a bit extra flavour and make sure that it will be fully cooked along with the vegetables. Now you don't want to break it up too much because you want some chunks in your lasagna. Well, I do anyway. If you prefer little bits of mince rather than chunks, then you do what you do. So that's it cooked on both sides. You can still see that there's a couple of little pink bits. That's absolutely fine. That's how we want it. This isn't the full cooking process. We're going to add it into the sauce to keep cooking with all the vegetables, etc. as well. So it shouldn't be fully cooked at this point. So I'm just transferring, oh, it's quite loud, sorry. I'm just transferring the mince to a separate pot where we're going to add all the other ingredients. So you can see that that pan's got quite a lot of fat in it. So that's usually why I would do this step in a separate pan. Of course, because we're adding the chorizo and all the cheese, that becomes a little bit redundant, but it's a step that I usually do. Next, we're going to add 500 grams of passata. Next, we're going to add a pinch of sugar. That's just to reduce the acidity from the tomato and the passata. I'm also going to add some Italian herbs. And lastly, we're going to add all of the vegetables and the chorizo. Okay, we're just going to leave that to simmer for about 30 minutes. So before we start assembling the lasagna, you want to preheat your oven to 180 degrees. You can probably hear my one going in the background because it's a little bit loud. So I've got my roasting pan, I've got some lasagna sheets, I've got my lasagna sauce, I've got some cheese as well, not here at the moment, which I'm going to sprinkle on top, and I've got my cheesy bechamel, which, like I've said, I've showed you how to make in another video, so I'll link to that at the end. So in the bottom of your roasting pan, you want to put 3 sheets of lasagna, or however many will fit. Obviously you can make little individual lasagnas with just 1 sheet per little tin. So I'm going to put half the sauce in the bottom layer. Then I'm going to add half of the bechamel. The bechamel is really thick now, which is a good thing because it means that I'm not going to end up with it all sort of melting into the lasagna sauce. They're going to be somewhat separate. Okay, I'm going to get another 3 sheets. And we've got our second layer of meat sauce. And the last 3 lasagna sheets on the top, and the last of the bechamel sauce. I'm going to just plonk this all in the middle and then spread it out. Last but not least, we're going to grate some more cheese on top. I want to give it a good coverage, but I don't want to go crazy because there's already quite a lot of cheese in the sauce itself. It's already plenty cheesy. Right, and then we're going to pop that into the oven for half an hour. Now here it is in all of its glorious cheesy goodness. Now I'm looking forward to tucking into this, but what I'm not looking forward to is trying to cut it and present it neatly on a plate, because that's not really my forte, but I'm going to try my damnedest to make it look pretty for you guys. Wish me luck. I managed to get it looking presentable. See? Yay! I can do things. So I'm just going to try a little bit. Just a corner. It really is the best lasagna. So the homemade bechamel adds creaminess to it and richness. The chorizo as well adds depth to the sauce that you don't get without it, and it adds a little bit of spice as well. And you can taste it throughout the sauce even if you don't get a chunk of chorizo that you're eating. So we have Gary to thank for that stroke of genius.
Yay me!
But yeah, Gary is also waiting to eat the lasagna, so I will wrap this up. But thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
Don't
Bye.
wrap it up, I want to eat it.
For the shop.
Look.
It's like no.
So next week.
Next week, meet the headless man.